blessings. No, they keep coming to me. I can't stop God's blessings. No, I just can't stop. I just can't stop. No, just can't stop. Just can't stop. No, I can't stop God's blessings. No.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Campbell, and welcome to Woman to Woman. Today's topic is on new wave of new ways. And what we're going to be talking about this evening in honor of National Women's History Month. Now, in addition to the contributions that women have made in the past, we'll be talking about our way forward. So I'm going to ask now that we have our guest, and I welcome everybody to the show, and thank you very much for participating. I do understand and value your time. I'm going to start with Brian Vickers. Let me say it, since he's put his whole name up there. Brian, could you do a little introduction of yourself and tell us what it is that you do?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Currently right now, I'm a gig worker, and I also do photography, and I am an advocate against wrongful imprisonment.
Thank you so much, Brian. Yeah, we need to do another recap of that show. I read an article the other day, and that's coming back up as a serious topic about what's going on now currently. Thank you very much for that. Our next person is going to be Mike. No. Sorry, Christopher.
Hello, my name is Christopher Ellington. I was introduced to this channel by the IC Network, which is a nonprofit where we empower blind and disabled individuals to live independently. And I'm a blind individual. I'm a business owner. I retired from the Ellington firm, which is a long-standing accounting firm that I had for 15 plus years. That's still up and doing well and paying me my retirement check. And also, I'm just passionate about the work. And I enjoy Women's History Month. You know, I came here to represent. I feel like if it wasn't a woman, it wouldn't be none of us.
All right. All right. That's true. I love it. That's true. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Christopher. Next, we'd like to have Mike. Mike, would you want to introduce yourself right quick? Did he step away? Maybe we'll have to turn around and come back. Okay.
Hello.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm over here multitasking. My name is Michael Ross. I'm a project manager and CTO. My experience in both construction and project management came from my joint services in the Air Force and Navy as a combat construction engineer.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Our next guest will be Miss Bryn Sharif.
And good afternoon or good evening, all. My name is Bryn Sharif. I happen to currently be retired. I've been retired a long time. I have worked in financial services and currently write a column and host a podcast called Get Your House in Order, where I try to provide new mindsets for individuals in the area of finance and politics.
Oh, great. Thank you. We definitely need to tune into your podcast. We all could use a different insight and a new approach. Thank you so much, Bryn. I'll be there. And we have another guest, Arnita. Arnita? I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry.
She is.
Hi. Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please. Your name and who you are.
My name is Angel, and I was referred by Rose Anthony, and I am an accountant and a mother. And that's pretty much about it right now.
Well, thank you for joining us, Angel. So we have a couple of finance people on. That's three. I think money is in the air. You know, hey, three of us. This is a rarity. We never have that many finance people on at one time that I can recall.
Okay.
And it's not the topic. Okay, Rose, are you available? So I guess we'll do a circle back for her. What we want to get started with is we had a show yesterday, a wonderful show about the results of the last election here, our primary, which occurred here on Tuesday, March the 17th. And we talked about the results. And one of the wonderful things that came out is the fact that we are in a situation here in Illinois where we're able to become one of the first states that would have two women of color seated in the Senate. Yes, we've had women in the Senate before, but never have we had two women of color actually seated. And this will be a first for Chicago. And what an accomplishment for women of color, because we happen to be women of color that are on here. And we also have children on here of women of color. And we just wanted to make sure that we honored them by mentioning, once we go through these midterms, to vote blue and that to make sure that that happens, because their opponents are males and they are white. So that would change. It wouldn't be where we have two minorities even seated at the same time for the state of Illinois. And I'm going to have to ask y'all forgive me because I you may hear that behind me because we have the windows raised a little bit. I did let it down and it's still coming through. And I want to apologize, Monica. And she, with her skills and talent, she can erase all of that.
What is it you need erased?
That the horn that was blowing in the background it's gonna be a gap. It's
Okay.
a little gap in it. You can just take it out.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, great. Now, the new wave and of new ways actually came about while we were doing some brainstorming. And I'm going to have Bren, because I had another title, but again, we saw where this was related. Because again, when we talk about the wave, I'm thinking about the wave of change, necessary change. And we were just talking on the phone a little bit earlier. We're talking with Mike, and I talking with another friend of mine down in Arkansas, and again, talking about the way forward for the Black community. One of the things that we've been working on and talking about putting on shows on a regular is to discuss ways of getting out the information, accurate information, to our members of our Black communities. And that encompasses every community where there is Black representation, here in the city of Chicago and possibly even in the surrounding suburbs. But right now, it's a lot of us here in the city of Chicago that are asking questions about what can they do? Does their vote count? How to get people who have been disenfranchised with the system in the process, and how to either bring them into the system for the first time or have them re-engage in a system that, yes, that is currently broken right now. So I'm going to ask Brian if she would come on and again talk about how she came up with this title and what her vision is for the way forward. And please, we want everybody's opinion with this, because this is something that all of us have to really get involved in, even though it is the woman to woman show. Bryn, I feel like I'm losing people.
Okay,
Can you hear
you haven't lost me.
me?
I had myself on mute. Would you repeat that again for me?
I was just explaining to them briefly about how we came up with the topic today as we were discussing the way forward and how we would inform of the members of the Black community and and have them be engaged or re-engaged in the system, in the process that we're in, this broken process that we're in, with regards to the way forward for the midterm and even after the midterm, and trying to assure that we don't have this kind of attack or assault on our freedoms, liberties, or democracy. And while we were talking and trying to make some kind of sense and come up with it, because it was a collection of things, you came up with the term the wave
Yes,
in the new way,
yes.
in the new wave and new ways. And I just wanted you to share your viewpoint of how you came up with that topic as it applies for a way forward.
Well, it really aligns very closely with scripture. It says, old things pass away, behold, all things become new. And then I put that with the old adage that says, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same thing you got. And so, not being satisfied with how our community fares, I said, we've got to, as they say, we got to get a new way of walking, a new way of talking. And so, if we can create enough energy, that would be like a wave to rush over our community, it would change our ways. Old things would pass away, behold, all things would become new. So that was sort of the mindset that I was in when I made that statement or made that suggestion.
And tell us, do you have a way? Because we were talking about a way to actually engage the young people, and I'm going to pose that question to everyone because this right now seems to be the concern across the board. Everywhere I go, everybody that's talking to me is how do we get our young people to participate, to have greater participation, not only in the voting process, but in also having some kind of say and the direction that this nation is going and where they want to see this nation. Maybe I'm not going to overwhelm them, but even saying the next 5 years. Do you have an idea that you could share with the group?
My thought is, and it was brought up in our earlier meeting, that we need to get the ear and heart of those individuals that are current influencers. And the way that I'm going to do it, because I don't know them, I polled after our meeting, I polled some young people to ask them who are they listening to on social media that influence them, and particularly in the area of political engagement. So I'm waiting for a response.
Great, thank you. And if I recall correctly, thank you so much, Brand, for that. Mike, didn't you say something like that also the other day? Are you there, Mike? We're gonna leave you, Mike. We really are. Well, I can let you know what I recall him saying was something like that. He kept saying we needed to be able, I don't know if he used the term influencer, but he was letting us know that the use of social media by using um again X, TikTok, and I have, what is it, Substack and other podcast networks to be able to actually go out here and put out the word and have individuals as the kids, like we were talking earlier, and I shouldn't say kids, forgive me, wanted to take that out, as the young adults actually how I've been told how the system works, as you have someone who follows you. When you post something, your followers see it automatically. You don't need to go or go to your friends and send your post to each one of them. As the feed is made up, the way it works, the feed, when you put something out, they're going to see yours because you follow them, and when they put something out, you're going to see theirs automatically. And we were talking about that being a great vehicle, even if we made short reels about with powerful statements behind it, or to ask a question, or to explain the roles of these political offices in which everyone is voting for. It also became we became aware that many people are not aware of the responsibilities, the roles and responsibilities of these elected officials. And many of them have been voting just because they say, okay, the governor, that's the highest political position for the state of Illinois. But again, what is the governor's responsibilities? Again, what is the state senator's responsibility? And so on and so on. And we kind of felt that if they had more knowledge of how these people, what these people should be doing, and how their offices are ran or should be ran, they could start holding them accountable, which will also make them be more involved in the processes, both local, state, and federal. And Brian, you know, I know with your experience, you have something that you could probably share with us on the way forward. Can we hear from you?
Sure. I've done some investigating into criminal cases and those specifically those who've been wrongfully incarcerated. And the use of social media, like you said before, it is a powerful tool, and it can help get traction even in what I do, working, which is working with the inmates and their families. I that's about all.
Oh, no, that's enough. Thank you very much. Because again, never thought about it from that perspective. Christopher, I think he stepped away too. Let me. What
Okay.
Christopher? Oh.
Yeah, I had to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's slow to unmute. I get that too from Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. I'm when I look. Um. Could you restate the question again?
What type of vehicle could we use? We talked about the internet and like Brian talked about the influencers in order to get the young people, the young adults. And let me say young, I'm 66 years old. So when I say young, I mean anybody that's 50 to 18, because you know that's 16. I could be their mom. If they're 50, I could be their mom.
Okay.
So that's the age group I'm looking at, and many of them in that age group also did not vote and do not vote. Because let me say this, because I failed to mention it. Only 25% of the people who were eligible to vote came out and voted on Tuesday.
Mm.
Only 25% in primary, which again, we say, yeah, primary does have a low voter turnout, but I kind of expected with everything that was going on, it would have been higher. And again, it is unfortunate that we only had 25% of the eligible voters to participate in the process.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I heard it was less than that. I heard I had got a report back saying it was only 20% that eligible voters that went to vote. But for that particular demographic, I feel like a lot of them are more action driven. So like just getting out here, doing the work, being in the community would draw and build up a decent amount of following. And people like to be led, not managed. So if you're in a leadership position and you're uh, having a positive community impact, I feel like it automatically gain supporters, which I've been in that position. So it automatically gain traction for support and people to encourage them to open up their own different areas of what is it, humanitarianism.
Well, thank you. You know what? I like what you just said. Yeah, people like to be led and not managed. I see, Brian, you have your hand up. You want to make a comment?
Yeah, one of the reasons for the low voter turnout maybe is also too people are very disgusted with what they see politically. Like for example, in the city of Chicago and even throughout the state of Illinois, they tax people to death. And I've just ran across an article before the Zoom meeting that Illinois is near the bottom in entrepreneurship creation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go downtown or in area or even in your own neighborhood, you'll see a lot of what used to be stores or in strip malls or what have you. I mean, yeah, they're vacant,
Yes.
and there's no need for that. There's no need for that. I mean, that shouldn't be. That should not be. I mean, and that also too speaks to why you have why you had low voter turnout to Tuesday.
Like you said, they're disgusted with what they see, and not enough is being done. I agree. And some of the young people that I've spoken to, many of them,
Mm-hmm.
including my own granddaughter, she wants to be an entrepreneur. She currently works for a very, very large organization now. But like she says, she doesn't plan on being there any more than 3 years. So yes, and
Right.
that can be kind of discouraging as a young person. I want to invite, excuse me, not invite. I want to extend an welcome to Margot Richmond. Margot, can you introduce yourself and give us a little history or share some information as to what you have heard or response?
Yes. My name is Margot Richmond, and I'm always excited about seeing empty storefronts. It's a business opportunity. And I would encourage every person that rides through the community to step up a couple of levels higher. And that's to find out what is the need in that community that appear to be a desert, a food desert. Um, I moved to Gary, Indiana from Chicago, and downtown Gary looked like there wasn't two pennies in that city. But however, it was quiet millionaires, retired quiet millionaires that invested in various different businesses that was necessary to keep cities around, towns around the Gary, Indiana area, which is a hub for industrial. The industrial belt is growing by leaps and bounds. When you kind of got a building for $2,000 and found out how by going to the Chamber of Commerce, NAACP, various organizations that are in our surrounding towns, just to find out what are the opportunities. So we need to have our young people more engaged with the opportunities that appear to be bleak, but there's opportunities everywhere. If the people are there, the Hispanic population has grown by numbers, leaps and bounds, because they looked at an industry that was desperately needed, and it was auto repair, collision companies, and they put them right in our community. Even they put tire stores and storefronts, and they're making money. You just got to study your community, find out what the need is. You may not be able to put the jewels in there, but it's something missing. So I want to encourage everybody that's Black, everybody that's young people, just young people, period. Don't look at the outside. Look for the opportunities because they're there. Every bank.
How old are you when
Every.
you do?
Sorry? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
That was a mistake.
Okay.
Okay, but that's what I have to say. That's the reason why our numbers need to quadruple. And we need to motivate each other, and we need to go out and get the research, sit in some of these meetings that the city of Chicago is having, find out the information, because it's money to be made where it seems to be nothing going on. I was the first Black female I was the first Black female in the nation, and I went to Gary, Indiana, with light bulbs, fixtures, balances, in an abandoned building that had been abandoned for 20 years. And I ended up with contracts all over the place, from Pensacola, Florida, to the Air Force bases and different places. So don't underestimate what appeared to be dead. People are making money anyway. Nice talking to everybody. And I hope everybody gets to the bottom of this. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'd like to say something. If somebody, y'all hear me?
Yeah. I do. I hear you, Christopher.
Mm-hmm. This is Duncan. This is Christopher Father.
Oh, we hear you, Duncan.
Okay, so this is what I believe is the issue with young people. The one issue is they're influenced by mostly entertainers and athletes, but then and again, understanding the government situation in local elections and stuff like that, I believe that the parents should put pressure on the schools especially when it comes to the sophomore year to junior year, when they're about to be able to vote in their senior year, put pressure on the schools to teach the children the importance of the local election and what the local candidates are responsible for each area in which they live in, all the way down to the aldermen. So it could be more of a pressure on their service in which they served our communities. A lot of people don't realize that politicians are hired to serve the communities. They're not just hired to be a suit and a image in front of the camera when it's time for election. And then another thing is, since the kids do uh, more or less be attracted by entertainment and athletes, have some of these politicians and some of these events to circle around, uh, bringing these people into these events that they're attracted to, and speaking to the kids the importance of their position in the community and their influence with the education and the public system, as well as, what is preserved in the neighborhoods, the streets, the caring of the property and the values of the properties, and also the availability for businesses to be developed in the area in which they live.
Well, thank you. I totally agree with you. The young people, and I think we kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, with people not understanding what the roles and responsibilities are of these politicians. And like you just mentioned, the fact that these politicians really work for them. They're not employed like you have a job where you come in and that some company, the HR department has hired you and you're there to serve the best interest of that company. They're there to serve your best interest, the best interest of the constituents, which is the best interest of the voters, and even those who don't vote. But if you are registered in that area, they too need to address what your needs are. And when it comes to what we're calling for as far as entrepreneurship or economic development within the community, we kind of need to make sure that the people that they're voting for have that kind of knowledge, that kind of zeal, that kind of courage, initiative, incentive to go and help bring industries and businesses to the ward or to the district, because we're talking about state level too, as well as again federal, because there are federal contracts that are available to people for contracting purposes, which are everyday people. You can have your office and at home. You could have a home-based office, and you still can qualify to be considered as a contractor and a long-term sometimes contractor for the federal government and various occupations. And in addition, again, those who want to set up some kind of service-oriented business within the community, these politicians are supposed to help you with everything to include zoning. But we need to find a way. And again, I know it's going to probably, you mentioned about people, the politicians actually coming out. I think Bryn and I can't remember who else was on yesterday. We're talking about the fact, Lavette talked about the fact that she got a bunch of literature that people threw away. Bryn said she got literature. I think, Margot, did you get literature? I didn't get any literature. I didn't see not one, not one political flyer where I live.
Yeah.
Not one did we get where I live. Not one. And that was odd. But if this is happening in other places where and again, I remember working for certain politicians, we only put the literature out in the precincts where we got the most number of votes. And those people in those precincts that voted were also the ones who got the services first, or who got the services that they were requesting, even though the next block over or the next precinct over, their need may have been greater. They may have had real craters in the sidewalk, could have had a section or a slab of concrete missing. Whereas on the other block, we were tearing up the sidewalk just to repair one or two cracks. Whereas they could have gone out and I guess they could have filled it in with what, like I would say, with some cement, covered it up, put a sign up for a little while, and it would have been fine, and go over there and fix that slab. But that wasn't the way these politicians were thinking. They pretty much were rewarding the people who voted for voting by ensuring that they get the services first and get what it is that the majority of that precinct was requesting, including tree trimming. Okay, I think we have someone else that just joined, I thought, or did someone? I'm trying to keep up with it. Oh, you did, Jillian.
Sandra, I'd like to make a comment on. I had my hand raised, and
Oh, I didn't
I
see
don't
it.
know
It's
how that.
gone. Okay.
I don't know how that goes, but I think it was Mr. Vickers, Brian Vickers, that
Yes.
indicated that he helps those families whose loved ones have been incorrectly incarcerated, convicted. And on the ballot this time and most time are judges. All trials are not by jury. And so we have to do our homework. And also, if in fact you get jury summons, most people, oh Lord, I don't want to be bothered with it. Yes, you do. That could be the difference between some families' loved one being incarcerated, being convicted and incarcerated or not. So a constitutional representative government that we have, which many people refer to as democracy, which it's not, but nonetheless requires responsibilities, exercising responsibilities. And voting is not only a right, and we as Black people had to fight for that right, but it is a responsibility to keep things working. The other thing someone mentioned about the vacant buildings uh, downtown and those that have been seen in other cities like Gary. What you don't know when you see those vacant buildings, there are people that own those buildings, that those buildings being vacant create money for them because
Yes.
they get to take that off of their taxes for other monies that they're making. So be very clear. It devastates our community and keeps other people from wanting to invest in our community when they come in and see everything boarded up. But understand that the people that own those buildings are living somewhere benefiting from that building being vacant.
I don't know that.
And yeah, they make big bucks, big bucks.
She's up, and same with the vacant lot situation. They really do. Brian,
Not as much for the vacant lots, and this is why. Taxes on a non-improved lot are much lower and the value is much lower. But when you have an edifice on that, it's a lot of money. Vacant lots, not so much. Who loses with the vacant lots are the people that live in the immediate community because their tax base is eroded by those vacant lots. Those vacant buildings do have to pay taxes. But the people that have those vacant buildings get to offset the income that they've made somewhere else with those vacancies. The other thing, the primary out, and I think the reason that the primary elections usually have lower turnout is because people don't understand the process. When I talk to people and they say, well, my vote doesn't make a difference. Well, what difference do you want in your life? So if you look at what difference you want in your life, and then you look at that office, that elected office that would have a direct impact on that, then you might say, oh, I want to know if that person that is going to vie for a place on the ballot represents my interest. And let's just say something like here in the city of Chicago, that the alderman, which, and politics are local, the closer an elected official is to you in well in affecting your life, our city aldermen, who are legislators for the city, are the ones that put up the rules and regulations that that more closely, more immediately affect us. I had a conversation with a young lady today. She said that she wanted to put her have like a yard sale. And there's a city ordinance that says you may not have more than 2 yard sales a year. And she said in some areas she goes and they have the stuff yard sale every day, 365, as long as the weather permits. And she could not understand that. And it is the alderman that passed that law. So if you have a candidate that is running for alderman, and this is just an example, that says that he wants to overturn that so people can have as many as they want, there you go. That's something that's near to you.
We have Brian. We have Brian's hand up, Duncan. I'm going to swing back over. If you could just hold your thought one little second. He's had it up for a
Okay,
moment. Okay, come on.
okay.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Okay. Now, like for example, like I touched on before, prime and I want to talk about this place specifically. Dusty's Soul Food, which used to be in Matson, Illinois, it's now closed. I don't know why it's closed, but that was a very good soul food restaurant. And again, and even in that area, you'll find that little strip mall area, I guess, you'll find a lot of places, again, they're closed and boarded up. And again, that's a loss of revenue. That's a loss of revenue. That's a loss of opportunities for people to get jobs. Okay. And we need to band together to try and get some of these places open to create, to not only to boost to the economy, but to create job opportunities for the younger people and to be able to pass this stuff along to the younger people.
I agree. And are we talking, when you say Dusty's, is that the place where Michael's used to be? Was that the same strip mall right there in Matson, or no?
No, Dusty Soul Food.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on Route 30.
Right,
Oh, okay.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
No, yeah, the Michaels was over there.
Oh, that's where the Michaels was? Okay.
Yeah, you
Okay, well,
you old school like me. Yeah, Michaels. That was a long time ago.
Well, I
okay,
remember that being something like what Brian just spoke on. Because I'm not going to let Duncan speak before I even get it, and then introduce Jill because she just joined the show. That was a very deliberate process. That when Brian was talking, I was that it ran across my mind. Not that location, but a couple of others. That's actually happening here in the city of Chicago on the north side, all the way from Halsted to Narragansett. But yeah, we'll that's Duncan. Can you say what it make your comment? Thank you so much, Brian. And you still got an opportunity to come back. This ain't over with. And then I'm going to introduce Jill and let her say her thing, and then we'll just keep the conversation going.
Okay, he wasn't trying to say nothing before, but I do have a comment. I was just similar to how they had that ordinance. It had came to my mind when we first was having a discussion is, can we get or maybe put a task force together where we can encourage our local officials to make an ordinance where buildings or storefronts or certain things can only be vacant for so long until they offer them, as to members of the community, either on a no cost or a low cost basis.
You probably can, and I would have to go and research what they did in what's that, Bridgeport? Because Bridgeport had the mayor and John Daly's office, the committeeman John Daly's office is right down the street on Halsted. They actually did something like that because they used to ride the heck out of Spiegel's. And again, that's a whole nother conversation because, Spiegel's had that huge building over there and they started doing a whole bunch of stuff and they rode them for a long time about that because, again, like you said, depreciation of property value, an eyesore, all kinds of things was being said about that. But that is something you could do in your community. And that's the thing I think that needs to be stated as we go forward. All of us, because we live in different communities.
Excuse me.
Let me introduce Jill.
And also, let me just throw this in there. Those people that own those properties, you can also contact them because I've had clients and I've contacted the owner of the building that appear to be abandoned. If there's a non-for-profit, and we need to talk about LLC, some of those buildings can be donated. So you just have to kind of get some information. We'll keep the show going so that way the information will come back up.
Great. That's a great idea. Thanks a lot, Margot. Jill, thank you for being patient.
Excuse me, let me just one more on backing up or piggybacking on what Margot said. Unfortunately, if the building is vacant, that owner has to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That owner says, okay, I will donate this to a not for profit. That
Yeah.
building then comes in as a non tax paying building,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
erodes the taxes in the community.
And
So
that's what
that's
Mike
kind
was
of like
talking about
shooting us
earlier.
in the foot.
Yes, that's what Mike talked about earlier. The nonprofits, the 501c3s, and the fact that they are tax exempt in some areas, and so are some, the way some of the structures of the LLC where it taxes the individual and not necessarily the company. Let me introduce her. Then we're gonna come back. Conversation's gonna. We just want to make sure everybody gets introduced because I missed somebody last night, and I don't want to get in trouble again. Jillian, I see that you've joined. Could you just introduce yourself? If you got a comment,
Oh, I'm Jillian, and I'm glad you guys brought up the topic of not receiving any literature from the politicians because in my area I didn't receive anything either. I haven't been here long, but well, long enough, but it wasn't even any like for the previous residents. We received nothing at all. Nothing. I found that very strange. When you were talking about it yesterday, it like kind of reminded me like, yeah, we didn't receive anything. And when I was in my previous residences, even in buildings with multiple units, we did receive literature, but nothing here. Didn't see anything, nothing here. The church and school are across the street. Nothing about the elections or anything, even from them or anything. So that was quite strange.
well, and we forgot to say Jillian's one of those young people in that age group where we're trying to get them and involved to let us know why it is that so many of them feel that they don't need to, that they don't, their vote doesn't matter, it doesn't count. As they say, it doesn't count, it doesn't matter, it does, there's no, I don't need to participate in this process, my vote doesn't count, and they're going to do what they want to do anyway, so no, I'm not going to vote. But yet they're still being they're not receiving services, still at a
Hmm.
huge disadvantage, don't know the system, don't know what the various politicians do or
Yeah.
what they should be doing. And yeah, that
You know,
needs
and
to
I
be
think
addressed.
I think too, what politicians, they need to. There's not much on social media, and that's the thing now. They are not utilizing TikTok, Instagram. If they want the younger votes, that's what they need to utilize. That's how they pull in those votes because people they're on social media all day. They can't live without social media. They're at work on social media. At my job, they just have to let them know, like, yeah, no, we're not going to be on social media with your earbuds in while you're at work. We're not going to do that. You're going to get rolled up. So this is what they're doing all day, even at work, and they could pull in votes just from Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And for whatever reason, the politicians are not utilizing those social media platforms to pull in those votes.
Very
Thank
good.
you very much. Brian, your hand is still up. Do you have, is it just still up and it didn't go down because maybe Zoom is doing something crazy? Or do you have another question?
Well, yeah, I was going to expound on something she said a few minutes ago before I raised my hand. Part of the problem with wrongful convictions, one of the reasons, there's many different reasons wrongful convictions do happen, and sometimes a lot of times it's on the inmate, meaning or the person that's being accused or wrongfully accused, I should say, is they take
Uh-oh.
what they call a bench trial versus a jury trial. And rule of thumb is you should never
Bathroom.
take a bench trial, okay? Because you're being judged by one person, the judge himself, versus 12 people. Okay, and also too, even with a jury trial, you have jury members who don't have the necessary gumption. And I know of one case specifically, and I've been working on this case, working with this particular person for years. I had been working with him for years, And in his retrial, there was a jury member who failed to do the right thing because for whether it was for selfish reasons or he just caved in under the pressure of not wanting to be the one person to hang the jury like in his first trial. Okay, also too, there are other reasons as well, like prosecutorial misconduct. And another reason that I've run across many, many times is ineffectiveness of defense counsel. And something that, and on that issue, ineffectiveness of defense attorney, something that I found to just be astounding and appalling is a defense attorney during a murder trial can sit in court, sleep, not make one objection, not call one witness, not present evidence, not challenge any of the evidence presented by the prosecution. That is ineffective, yes, but does it rise to the level of warranting a new trial? No, because the courts tend to be very forgiving to one of their own, which I think that is just, in my opinion, very ludicrous.
Well, I think that we would play into that again as we're talking about being voted. Those judges that are voted in versus those judges that are appointed. But again, and I would have to go back and do some other stuff to research. But I would think again, the state's attorney's office should be able to be brought in on stupid stuff like that because, like you said, that's totally, totally unacceptable. But again, who are we voting in for those positions? And again, understanding the role of the persons that we're voting in and how that individual as well as others could adversely impact our life. Um, Thank you there for Brian because that right there was pretty insightful. I see Mike, you have your hand up.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that was brought up earlier. I hope that fire truck. Okay. So when people talk about businesses in the community, there are two pieces that everyone is leaving out of the puzzle, and we think they don't matter. One, contact your committeeman. Committeemen are the people that you go to talk to about businesses in your neighborhood. The other step in that process is if you see a property that's there, save you some money. Freedom of Information Act. Go to Cook County Recorders of Deeds, type in the address, all the owner's information will pop up. And then what you could do is what the people that are doing with the Airbnbs get a master lease agreement, help them pay their taxes. Why is it that way? If you can't afford it, create creative workarounds. A master lease agreement means you don't own it, but you have the right to represent that person. So if it's abandoned land, you can get something built on it because you have a master lease agreement, but you don't have the money. There are workarounds where we don't always have to do LLCs and 501c3s. And just it's very imperative that you get to know the difference. An LLC is a limited liability company, whereas a corporation and people are so worried about paying taxes. But the taxes should come from your customers. That's what small businesses are. They're tax collectors. And we have gotten away from understanding that knowledge and who does what. The committeeman, not your alderman, your committeeman is responsible for developing businesses. And that's why I was saying yesterday in the meeting that the alderman gets paid through your taxes, the committeeman gets paid through businesses. Start looking for Chamber of Commerce. Who's your committeeman? Those are things we don't ask for or push for in our communities. Where's our Chamber of Commerce? In K-Town, where's the Chamber of Commerce? Who's the committeeman? And then if the Democrat, another one, and people, oh, well, I ain't this. Well, I ain't a vice lord or a disciple, but I know what to do and what not to do. And in the cases of our neighborhoods, There's a Republican committeeman and there's a Democratic committeeman. And 9 times out of 10, the Republican committeeman that's black and that's in your neighborhood and he has that responsibility, whether he like it or not, he has money sitting there because your taxes go to both sides. So why would you only get 50% of your taxes back? Go talk to your Republican committeeman because he might just help you to show that he has votes in that community.
Mike,
Absolutely right.
may I make a a clarification? Committeemen are political offices of their specific party. That's why you have a Democratic committeeman and you have a Republican committeeman. They have no legislative, no legal authority as it relates to government. Now, what generally happens is that the committeeman and the aldermanic office rest in one person. Most aldermen are also the committeeman of their ward, but the office of committeeman does not have any other authority than that of the party. There's something called the Central Committee that both the Republicans have one and the Democrats have one. That Central Committee are the committeemen that make the vote on who would appear as a regular Democrat or a regular Republican on the ballot. That's their office. Now, as you said, they may be business minded and they may have some funds, but it is your alderman that has the legislative and the legal right to say, open up this vacant lot for this individual, or if there are land bank properties in that ward, that alderman is the one to go to and not the committeeman. Committeeman is strictly a political office there to serve the political party that they've been elected from.
Well, that really hasn't been my a perfect example. When Gradidio, because I'm from the West Side, when Gradidio put out the $10 million, I had rappers coming to me because they wanted part of that $10 million grant. And how that $10 million grant worked to make movies was 50% or more, but they were looking for 60% of the staff had to be minorities in order for you to get the tax credit and the $10 million. Now, I don't know what happened, but that came through Judy Bodapinka when she was in office because there was a push. There was that TIF or TANF, I forgot which one it fell up under. But for years under Norris Washington, who was under on the West Side now, who was it? I think it's Michael Scott Jr. I don't know
Did
if
you
it
say North? Did
changed.
you say? Did you say Norris Washington?
Yes,
Okay, Norris Washington was out of the 24th ward. I was out of the
correct.
24th ward. Norris
So I worked
Washington.
under Norris.
Say that again.
I worked and came in under Norris Washington.
Okay, all right. Norris Washington, after I left being chief of staff of Curtis Collins, became her chief of staff. And I don't know when this grant came through that you're talking about, but it could have been because Norris was in the position with the congressional office, and he may have been the committeeman of the 24th Ward. But it was the office of the congresswoman that he may have been working from. I promise you, committeemen are strictly officers of the political party that they serve. And oftentimes, most oftentimes, it's the alderman that also holds that position. And I'm looking it up now. What is the responsibility of a committeeman in Cook County? and I'm going to read what that says. So go on with the conversation, y'all.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? It's after the hour. I let it go a few minutes because everybody was late. It is currently 8:08. So we have this has been a wonderful conversation. And I do see Brother Jordan has joined, and I see people are leaving because it's after the hour. If you want, Brother Jordan, you can say hi. And it's good to have you. You know, you're late. It's good to see that you're okay. We appreciate it.
Yes, yes. I apologize for my tardiness. It's been a long evening for me.
Oh,
You know,
I'm sorry. I don't want it to sound like I was reprimanding you. I meant respectfully. I'm
oh no,
sorry.
I get it. I get it. I appreciate you acknowledging me. I definitely had hopes of being here. I got in early and laid down and just now jumping back up. So I'm going to be up all the rest of the night. So that's probably how I'm going to be right now. But
Well,
I
you can
greatly
do one.
appreciate.
You can be part of Wanda's other broadcast. She has a 24-hour broadcast that she's building right now, and she'll give out that information. So for those that are up at late at night, you can actually join in on there and make some of your comments and provide some of the wisdom that individuals would need. Um, but thank you again for joining. I want to thank everybody for participating. This is great information to use as we go forward. I think it was Christopher and maybe even Brian mentioned, and Brian had let me know he did send me a message that he had to get off early because he had another meeting. Um, Starting some type of committee is where we're about and where we are. I have been hearing people talk about doing a so-called committee or some kind of group or organization that's responsible for putting out information for the community. I've been hearing that since November, y'all. Love y'all to death. I would love to actually see it come into fruition. I don't really care what side of town you start on because I believe once it's put out there, once you do it one time, you're going to get the attention and your people are going to be asking you to include people are saying the churches aren't doing it, but again, it's that people are copycatters. I work with the people, especially Chicago. I work with people in Chicago for a very long time. And once one area does something is good, the other ones automatically want to stand up that same program or that process in their community. But many of them don't know what it should look like, and that's probably their hesitation. So what I'm going to say before we sign off is again, with all this great information and all this enthusiasm and knowledge, we need to put that out there for our people. And again, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we have to at least just get it started. So if anybody has any kind of space, any kind of people that you could come together and soon, because I mean the midterms will be here before we know it, and people need to be able to go to the polls with more knowledge than what they had this last time during the primary, and definitely more enthusiasm and a greater commitment to be part of the way forward, part of the new ways, and not be trying to play catch up all the time. And with all the different information we have, again, just getting it started, putting it out there, and we have multiple vehicles. Bryn has a podcast. Wanda has Zoom. And Anthony's not on here. He has a show at some time. Wanda probably has opportunity for others because she tells me all the time, anybody can do a Zoom or do a podcast, and she'll put it out. It doesn't have to necessarily be on Wednesday or Thursday. It's
Nope.
just whenever you have information, and we can work it in with her schedule. So
And not only that, but everything costs. So come join the CCN News Network, and then you can move your podcast over to our network, and we can all be on one network, and we can stream to whoever we want to stream to. We should have somebody from every part of the continent if we can. People in other places, why not invite them to join the network? So
thank you for.
that's
I
my
don't know
view.
whether you were still busy or not. Thank you for jumping in there. I appreciate you. Yeah.
What what
Thank
what are the fees for that, Wanda? What are the maintenance fees on a monthly basis
Okay,
for
I will
that or
send
annual?
you a link. I will send you a link with that information. But yes, like there's a link. Oh, if you go to the website ccnnewsmedia.org, on the front page at the top in the banner, you'll see there's a a link. It says join the CCN News Network. It's you click on that, $10 every $10 a month for you to put your link there, and it'll rotate with all the other links as I acquire them, and people can go there and click on that link and go to your website, and you can come there, and that's what we should try to harness a connectivity. We have to get together. We all spread out everywhere. It's not that we're not reaching people. We just don't know how many people we're reaching because we're just spread everywhere.
Are
So
you saying CPN?
CC, like cat.
Okay.
Never.
CC. Okay.
ccnewsmedia.org.
Okay.
And then so we bring all of our collective resources together, and then we form this network. I mean, nobody's asking you to leave or disregard what you're doing. Let's just do it all together. Think about it.
I think it sounds wonderful, and we need that going forward. And again, for one spot, what they do, one spot, one shop spot. What is it? What's the simple thing? One stop, one stop,
one-stop shop.
The one-stop shop. Yep. And then start drawing people to that network so that, it's so many of us, if we all just talked about what was important to us, had our own little channel on the network, we draw people all. Why not? We should be able to get people across the world, around the world. You all know people other places. Why aren't we in contact with them?
Well, we must do something. And like I said, I'm very dedicated, very committed to actually working with anyone when it comes to making sure we inform our community. I talked to someone today about I'm not going to take the selfish route, because there are those that I know that are on here now and some that were on here earlier. Because of your information, your knowledge, and the way you move, you probably would be okay. You and your family would probably fare through the storm. But my thing is, what about the others?
Yeah.
And I am my brother's keeper, because someone has kept me. I can tell you, when I was young and out there, I wasn't doing nothing well, y'all. Wait, I was in college. Wanda knows. I wasn't doing nothing well, but I was out there, and someone always looked out. I mean, yes, God used other people to keep me safe, and then educate me and tell me what was wrong, what was right, what was dangerous, and sometimes even save me from harm and danger. I just feel that we need to be able to do the same thing for our people, and again, which also will serve our nation. So everybody, again, like I say, thank you. Everybody knows I'm long-winded. I apologize. I would say thank you for joining. Our next show will be Wednesday, correct, Wanda?
Yes, and
So
the next
do,
show.
do that little producer stuff you do, because I don't know.
It's
You know me.
Wednesday is the CCN News Network, and we talk about whatever topic we agree that we want to discuss, and everybody can come from the different perspectives, because we can all look at the same thing and see something different. So come share your information on the CCN News Network, and let's get the word out there.